I'm Marney Gardner and we are in Catrin in East Ayrshire. My dad and I started in properties in 1989 and he was already in property, and he said to me, there's many things you've got to learn, but one of them's how to deal with houses, so you might as well start now. I had just turned 19 and it was buy-to-lets that he had quite a few of, and we took old properties. That's, I think, where the love of the old properties came from, but it was Victorian apartments basically, and we did them up and we rented them out to private tenants. The biggest thing that I learned was that, you know, you've got to make sure that you've got everything set up correctly. You know, way back in the 80s and 90s, you did everything in your own name. And when things like the market crash in 2008 come along and they wipe you out personally and they take everything from you that you built up over years, right down to your own property, you have to then say, right, okay, we need to learn from this and how can we do it differently? So in my opinion, that's learning. That's the knowledge you need to have, and that's what's key in everything, is that you have to have the right knowledge behind you to be able to make the informed decisions that's going to safeguard you for the future. I had actually come across, initially it was Paul. I watched a few of his videos, and then Abby was in a couple of them, and I thought, actually, she's really interesting as well, and started to watch her videos. And after about 3 or 4 months of watching their videos and following what they were saying, it kind of sparked my interest as to, hang on a minute, what is Touchstone? What is it they offer, and how can, and I know it sounds a bit blasé, but what can they teach me? And the answer to that was an awful lot. So, you know, I was surprised, not that I didn't know about it or didn't have the same knowledge as them, it was that the knowledge was so different. That was where the explanation and the training for the serviced accommodation really came into its own, because I always thought you just, if you had extra rooms or if you bought a house and you rented it out to holidaymakers, then it was dead simple. But in actual fact, there's a whole process to it. There's a lot of legislation, but it's not hard. You just know how to do it. And that was something that absolutely was key for us to move forward, and certainly for me to move forward in it. We're in the process of completing on 2, which is the property that we're in just now, which is Mansfield House, and we also have purchased the one next door as well, and these are both Georgian manor houses, the manse and a former church hall, and they will be turned into serviced accommodation, very high-end luxury ones. We thought, right, okay, let's have a look at this, and I did 6 months market research on it, a lot of number crunching, because they had to work financially as well as physically. The total amount to purchase this property was about 309,000 for this. Now, in English terms, that's not an awful lot of money considering the property we've got with the land mass that we have. But in this area of Scotland, that's quite a lot of money, especially if you were going to be buying it as a residential property for yourself. Next door, it was purchased for 440,000. The development costs for this property completed will be around about the £250,000 mark, and the GDV for this place came in at 3.89 million. Next door came in at 2.24 million. So the numbers stack up well, but I had contacted the top 5 letting agents for this specialist type of short-term let and service accommodation, and every one of them said, when will you be open? It's all stacking up, but we can't take that initially when you're refinancing the properties, because obviously our initial financing is through investors. So the refinancing of it is different figures, but that's the end figure. So we've taken it from here and upscaled it greatly. But these figures weren't my figures, these were the professionals in the industry's figures. So that kind of surprised me quite a lot. We have several private investors. That's how we finance them. We put it out through the Touchstone community, which is one of my favourite communities in the whole world, not just because they've got investors and everything else, but just because they're a great bunch. And I had been at the Deal Clinic down at Twickenham in London in June. By the end of the day at Twickenham, we came away with potentially 15 investors. So I was really quite pleased about that. I look at where I was 6 months ago. And 6 months ago, I had not long started Touchstone, didn't have any of these houses, didn't have any of the knowledge, didn't have any of the contacts, didn't have any of the investors, didn't have any of the training, the tools, anything. 6 months later, I do. There was a kind of couple of hour course that we did, and that gave you the opportunity to do the 2-day course, and I jumped on it straight away. Within sort of 3-4 hours, I was like, hang on a minute. There is definitely something else here that I need to know about. You realise that the Touchstone and the Wealth Academy is a toolbox, and if you've got the idea and they've got the knowledge and you put the two together and you've got a work ethic, that's when the magic starts to happen. But the one thing that I did love about it was the fact that you had that support system, that community. When the curves and twists and turns come, thank God for Touchstone, really the community, the back office, everybody, there's always somebody there to turn to. That's what I like about it. And all I would say is, don't sit on the fence, because if you do decide to do it in 6 months' time, you'll be thinking, where could I have been if I had done it 6 months ago? And that's exactly why I jumped in when I did. And it wasn't an easy decision, but I did it, and I'm so glad that I did.